Mic check 1 2. So there are about 5 hidden gems in my collection that I don't often talk about that I figured I'd share with you if you're looking for something a little bit different to add to your collection. And then I want to talk about different types of people that you'll encounter on YouTube, especially within the retro gaming space. So the first game that we'll talk about is a NES game, Silver Surfer on the NES, a very interesting take on a shoot 'em up where you can play about six, I think 5 or 6 different levels, and they all take on different perspectives. Some levels are side-scrolling, some levels are top-down, but regardless of which level you're playing, it is a difficult game, nonetheless, very difficult game. It is NES graphics, right? It's old school graphics, so sometimes it can be difficult to just kind of see what's going on and differentiate like what is actually part of the background versus what you need to dodge. It does have some of those issues, but I think it's an interesting take on a Silver Surfer game. I haven't seen very many Silver Surfer games outside of like the games that feature Silver Surfer in a Fantastic Four game, but this is an interesting take, nonetheless, a very interesting game, one that I recommend you check out on the NES. If you're looking to add something unique to the collection, go and grab a copy of Silver Surfer. Next up, we have this copy of Contra the Adventure. Another interesting installment in the Contra series. So this one takes on different perspectives as well, which is pretty cool. You have top-down, you have like third-person 3D, you obviously have the original side-scrolling on this one. There's about like 10 levels in this game. I think you can only play as Ray, the main character, in this one. But you get a lot of weapons, a good amount of levels, definitely some variety there. And it's just an interesting 3D take on Contra. This might have been like the first time we saw like a 3D take on Contra, if I'm not mistaken. So see, the Contra Adventure on the PlayStation 1 isn't one that I often talk about in my collection, but it is a very cool one to look into. I don't think it's super expensive. It's probably around 50 bucks, maybe 40 to 50 bucks. Which I guess is kind of expensive, but it's not like $120 expensive. And neither is Silver Surfer. Both of these games I'm pretty sure are under 50 bucks, but worth checking out. Then we have a game that got a release on the Sega Genesis, which not on the Sega Genesis, on the Switch, which is pretty interesting. But I had a copy and I sold it because I have the original version, and that is Gargoyles on the Sega Genesis. Now they did do a release of this game on the Nintendo Switch through a limited run, so you don't have to get the Sega Genesis version. I personally prefer the Sega Genesis version just because it's more nostalgic, and I actually grew up watching Gargoyles. Like, Gargoyles was definitely one of those cartoons that felt a little bit more mature. It felt like a teen/adult cartoon, definitely a lot more serious. It kind of fell within the range of like Batman the Animated Series or Spider-Man the Animated Series or even X-Men 92, like kid cartoons, but like adults could watch them too. Very cool game. This one is pretty much just like kind of like an action platformer, I guess. Some might consider it a Metroidvania maybe, but I think it's just a very well done game. Graphics on this one are really cool. One that I definitely recommend checking out for sure. Very cool game. If you don't have it, you don't have to spend the money on the Sega Genesis one, although I think that the Switch one is probably like just as expensive now. The limited run version is probably really expensive. Okay, and then next up we have ActRaiser 2. Now, a lot of people know about ActRaiser, and for some reason I feel like ActRaiser is just, it gets a lot more notoriety than ActRaiser 2. But in a nutshell, both games were incredible action platforming adventure games. Very, very cool stuff in a nutshell. The graphics on ActRaiser 2 and the music, though, in my opinion, set it apart. I mean, it just had way better graphics. This too is a very difficult game. Like ActRaiser 2 is not an easy game. It's difficult. It's very unforgiving. But I think it's beautiful, and it's not really expensive at all. I think you could get like a complete in-box copy of ActRaiser 2 for like 100 bucks, or at least you could. Just because I feel like there were a lot of copies of this game floating around, so you don't have to break the bank. If you want to just get the cartridge and not get it complete in box, you don't have to get it complete in box. If you want to just get the cartridge, you should be able to get a pretty clean cartridge for like 30 bucks, I think. But this is definitely a game I would say is worth checking out on the Super Nintendo. It is somewhat of a sleeper. Don't hear it talked about too often, but one I would definitely recommend. ActRaiser 2. And then the last one that I definitely got to recommend is Metal Warriors. Now, this one is expensive. I'm not going to front. Metal Warriors is an expensive game, but it is an amazing game. In terms of technical details, like the different moves you can do, the interaction that you have with the backgrounds, all the detail into the animations. This game, I would say, is probably right up there with like Hagane, in terms of just the detail. Every button has a function on the controller. I mean, you're basically, hopping from mech to mech, running and gunning. It's a very, very amazing game by Konami. One that I wish I could elaborate on more, but it's halftime and I'm watching the Lakers play the Timberwolves. I'm actually watching the Lakers get smacked by the Timberwolves, which is pretty shocking. But I spent my halftime making this video. But definitely recommend checking out Metal Warriors. You might want to emulate this one because Metal Warriors is not cheap. I think a loose cart for this game is probably somewhere between $400 or $500. So it's not a cheap game at all. It's pretty rare. Emulate it if you can. If you can get a copy, get a copy. But this one is not cheap. Now, you have a lot of people that I notice on YouTube who, say that they don't care about retro games or expensive games. But then they go to every video where someone's talking about a rare or expensive game and they come and they decide to preach in the comments about how it's stupid to waste money on rare and expensive games. And it's almost like they're on like a solo, like one man or woman campaign to try and convince the retro gaming community to not care about rare or expensive games. And I've seen this happen multiple times. I've seen people go on this campaign to try to do this. And I'll say this, like, in my life, when I didn't care about something, I just genuinely didn't care about it. Like I didn't care about it. Like I didn't talk about it. I didn't look for it. I didn't talk to anyone else about it. It just didn't pop up on my radar. I was completely indifferent towards it. Like it wasn't something that I thought about. It wasn't something that I went looking for. And even if I did see it, it was kind of like, it was like I would see right through it because it just wouldn't matter to me. And it confuses me when people talk about how much they don't care about expensive games, yet they're constantly trying to convince other people to not care about expensive games. And what that really winds up looking like from the outside in is you wind up looking like a person who's salty that they don't have rare or expensive games. And instead of doing what you say, which is not caring about rare expensive games, you make it your goal and your mission to convince everyone that you can that they should not care about rare or expensive games, or that they should not seek after certain games, or that they should collect in a certain way. Now, I'm going to be the first person to tell you, do not live beyond your means. And that includes buying video games, right? So like if you can't afford expensive video games, it probably means you can't afford an expensive dinner. It means you can't afford an expensive date. It means you can't afford expensive clothes. It means you can't afford anything that's expensive, anything that's considered a luxury. If you are not in a position to buy certain things, that just goes across the board, not just with video games, but that's just in life. So I would expect any and everyone to be good stewards of their finances and make sure that they're taking care of the things that they need to take care of. But there's nothing wrong with wanting a rare or expensive game, and there's nothing wrong with wanting a cheap game, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting a game that's $10 but is amazing. And there are a lot of them out there, and I have a lot of those types of games in my collection. I mean, just look at my Xbox collection. Half my Xbox collection is worth like $10 and under. But at the end of the day, if it's something that I don't care about, I'm just not going to talk about it. And you have a lot of people not a lot of people, I take that back. You have a small group of people, actually, in the retro gaming space who I think deep down inside and they're just filled with envy. Either they're filled with envy or they're filled. I don't want to call it envy, because I think that they don't want rare or expensive retro games. But I can guarantee you, if that someone gave them rare and expensive video games, or if they themselves found rare and expensive video games out in the wild for cheap, they would be just as excited as the person as anybody else, right? But because they don't run into those opportunities, or maybe they don't have those things, they make it their mission to go online and chastise anyone who does have rare expensive games, chastise anyone who does talk about rare and expensive games, or they, you know, they go on, like I said, they go on a one man or one woman campaign from channel to channel, trying to convince people to either care about something or not care about something. Look, at the end of the day, if you don't care about something, you won't talk about it. It won't matter to you. It won't even pop up on your radar. Someone left an amazing comment on one of my videos the other day when I talked about, I made a video talking about how a member of Congress is trying to take away Medicaid for young men who just sit at home and play video games all day. And this comment was probably the best comment I've gotten all year. And what they literally said was, hey, the spines on your GameCube games look amazing. Everything else went straight over my head. Love the collection. And I like that comment, because what they were essentially saying was like, listen, man, like, I don't really know, like, none of that other stuff matters to me, but I definitely am digging anything you had to say about video game content. And to me, that's exactly how you should treat things that don't matter to you. Things that don't matter to you, things that don't pop up on your radar, things that you don't care about, they literally should be going in one ear and out the other, and you should just be concentrating on the stuff that you care about. But a lot of people who have a lot of negative things to say about people who collect or collect expensive games or anything like that, these are the people who are always trying to psychoanalyze collectors. They're always trying to diagnose you with some type of addiction. They're always trying to coach you on your finances when they probably still live, let me not say that, when they probably are not at their financial peak themselves. Let me say it that way. And so I'm saying all this to say that don't be a low-key hater. That's all I'm saying. That's a moral of this part of the video. Don't be a low-key hater, because when you're a person who goes from page to page trying to convince people to either like or not like something, or you go on a one-man or one-woman campaign trying to convince people why they shouldn't care about something, you wind up looking like a hater, because people who don't care about things do just that. They don't care about it. They don't talk about it. They don't try to convince anyone else of anything about it. They just go on with their lives. And that's the one thing that I would say, is just to be on the lookout for those types of people. If there's things about my channel you like, you're gonna like those videos, and you're gonna keep going. If there's things that you don't like, you're gonna respectfully disagree, or you just won't comment at all and you'll move on. But I'm so thankful that my audience is smart enough to know that. And the stuff that they don't like that I drop, they're smart enough to just eat the meat, spit out the bones, and move along with their day. So just something that I noticed, and I've seen it, and I've never really spoken on it to this level, but I just thought it was really interesting because, again, I'll just gonna say it again, dog, you look like a hater, bro. Stop hating, right? And do what you say you're doing. If you don't care, then just don't care. If you do care, then just say, man, I'm mad that I don't have these things, and at least you'll seem more authentic. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments below. It's a Y2K collector. I'm going to go finish watching this Laker game. Hopefully the Lakers come back, man, because they're getting smacked by the Timberwolves right now. But let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.